Let's get into it. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says the country is switching to emergency shutdowns today to stabilize its power grid following Russian missiles on Monday. 4 people were killed in the attacks, and overnight more missiles hit critical infrastructure near the city of Zaporizhzhia. Earlier today, the governor of Kursk region said a drone attack on an airfield hit an oil storage tank and set it alight. President Zelensky has warned that about half of Kyiv region will remain without electricity over the coming days. The country's energy minister says he hopes to significantly reduce power deficit caused by the latest Russian strikes, bringing nuclear power stations back onto the grid. The situation is made worse by present weather conditions. A winter season has seen sub-zero temperatures in many regions, and millions of people are without power or running water. Fears are rising also that many could die of hypothermia. And more on the Russian missiles in Ukraine today. The city of Donetsk came under heavy shelling, with several people injured and buildings destroyed. It comes a day after authorities in the Russian-controlled city said 4 civilians have been killed, 3 more wounded in the area Monday. Local investigators say they've collected fragments of what they believe to be from a projectile launched from a BM-21 multiple rocket launcher. Both Russian and Ukrainian forces widely use the Soviet-era weapon and accuse each other of deliberately targeting civilians and non-military facilities. While amidst the shelling of Ukrainian infrastructure, Russia's Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu says forces are taking care to ensure the safety of the power plant in Zaporizhzhia. Ukraine denies shelling the facility, which has been under control of Russian forces since the first days of the invasion, and accuses Russia of firing on it. Shoigu says Ukraine fired 33 large-caliber shells at the plant in the last 2 weeks. Most had been intercepted by Russian air defenses. He said, though some still hit objects that affect the safe operation of the nuclear power plant. Both Moscow and Kyiv blame each other for attacks on the facility. Kyiv has also accused Moscow of using the plant as a de facto weapon depot. The United Nations nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency, is pushing for the creation of a security zone around the plant, fearful of a potential Chernobyl-like disaster. Well, Russia and Ukraine say they've exchanged 60 prisoners of war on each side in the latest of a series of prisoner swaps between the 2 countries. Russia's defense ministry says the 60 freed Russian soldiers will be flown to Moscow to receive medical care and psychological support. Ukraine's presidential chief of staff, Andriy Yermak, hailed the returning Ukrainians as heroes and said they included dozens which had held out in the city of Mariupol, including the besieged Azovstal steelworks, until Russia forces surrender in May. Ukraine accused Russia in July of committing a war crime with a strike on Olenivka that killed dozens of prisoners. Russia said Ukraine had fired at the camp. The 2 sides have exchanged hundreds of prisoners in a series of swaps over the past few months. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba says more Ukrainian embassies have received more dangerous packages. Today, the embassies in Romania and Denmark received such parcels. Mr. Kuleba was addressing a news conference where he confirmed the reports, saying, "I asked to relax and not to waste their time and money on post stamps. He will achieve nothing." Over the past week, Ukrainian missions in several European countries have sent packages containing animal eyes and coated in pungent liquid. No one has claimed responsibility for sending the packages more than 9 months into the Russian war in Ukraine. During the Russian shelling on Kyiv, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, had to meet with human rights activists in a shelter as Russia unleashed the airstrikes across the country. During his second day in the capital, the commissioner had to move the scheduled meeting with human rights advocates to the bunker as air raid alarms sounded above across the country. The commissioner commented anxiously that this has now become a new normal for the population, having a huge impact on civilians. He says it has to stop.
I was on the point of meeting human rights defenders on my second day in Kyiv, and I had to move this meeting down here to this shelter. You see UN colleagues behind me who are here with me. There was a wave of missile attacks against Ukraine, including some of them ending up in the proximity of Kyiv. You can imagine what this means for the population. It has become almost a new normal, but it has a huge impact on civilians, and it has to stop.
The VOA's Anna Chernikova joins us now. She's in Kyiv. Anna, great to see you. And how are you and other Ukrainians coping with a power outage in the capital city?
Good evening. For the moment, again, there is no electricity at my place, but I should say that situation is getting better every day in terms of the length of the period that electricity is available for Ukrainians. However, after the latest missile attack that happened yesterday, that caused a hit in couple of energy infrastructure facilities, including in the Kyiv region, situation is now a little bit worse than it was the previous week. However, it is much better than it was after the previous attack, because the previous attack caused much more, let's say, damages to the energy infrastructure. Ukrainians are getting used to this, to live with this, unfortunately. A lot of Ukrainians have already bought either generator or additional electricity source, like a huge power bank, in order to be able to stay online, to stay to charge their phones, laptops, and to stay in touch with their relatives. So I should say that it looks like that for the next couple of days, at least this is what Ukrainian energy officials are saying, that the next couple of days situation is going to be difficult because of yesterday's attacks, but still it should be getting better. So better, I mean that these outages will be back under the schedule, because for the moment outages are random, and Ukrainians cannot really prepare for them. When outages are scheduled, then it's easier for Ukrainians to schedule their day.
Indeed, I can understand that. I know that the government is doing this more to protect the people, because with those Russian missiles hitting infrastructure, there could be more danger for the Ukrainians. But the government also says that there'll be more missiles today. So have there been other targets or the targeted infrastructure hit by these missiles today?
Well, today it was a high risk of another missile attack, and it was announced by Ukrainian military officials. However, for the moment, no attacks have been recorded. I mean, massive attacks. Of course, some areas have been attacked, and unfortunately, if we talk about Kherson region or east areas of the country, they are under attack constantly. Zaporizhzhia region, Dnipropetrovsk region, Kherson region, and Donbas. But for the moment, I cannot report any massive strikes. And today, what we know from the confirmed information that Ukrainian officials are reporting on, we don't have information on particularly energy infrastructure heat, any energy infrastructure heat today. So we only know, and President Zelensky confirmed that Ukrainian energy workers are working nonstop in order to get energy system back to more or less stable, and in order to enable the scheduled outages back. So for now, as of now, 6 p.m. Kyiv time, no massive airstrikes, massive attacks have been reported.
But people still need to be careful, don't they? Let's talk about the prison exchanges that happened today. 60 prisoners of war on both sides. What happens to the ones coming back to Ukraine?
Yeah, another 60 Ukrainian soldiers are back, and today Ukraine marks the day of the Ukrainian armed forces, which is very symbolic that these soldiers are actually coming back on this day. However, I should say that the state, their physical and mental state, most of them are coming back. I think even it would be correct to say all of them are coming back with very serious, injuries, either mental or physical. All of them are underweight. All of them are very physically heal, And this is what we see for this, past months of these exchanges, starting from, like, the biggest one happened back in September, but we have more of smaller exchanges on the way and during this period of time since September. And definitely all of them need immediate medical attention, immediate physical, first of all, medical attention, and emotional, psychological, physical treatment. And we know that a lot of them are getting this treatment straight away. Some of them have it, long-term treatment is needed for some of them because of the state that they have. And also we know that a lot of, let's say not a lot, but many of them are coming in a really difficult physical conditions, and they actually need more serious treatment. And some of them are actually getting it either in Ukraine or abroad.
Back to the power situation, Anna. With temperatures falling, it has to be a more difficult winter ahead for many Ukrainians, even those in Kyiv who still get some hours of electricity a day. There are fears that some people could die of hypothermia. Are spirits still up that Ukraine is winning the war?
Well, Ukrainians are definitely not getting ready for dying from hypothermia. So I should say that the mood here is that everyone understands it will be an extremely difficult winter. And even now, temperature, as you correctly said, is getting lower. And of course, when it's no electricity, most of the heating system, most part of the heating system is not working as well. So Ukrainians are preparing either to, with all the sources they can, afford. So either additional, heating system that could be pre-charged, or, warm clothes, of course. Also, Ukrainians, very popular in Ukraine, particularly in big cities, that residential buildings are buying generators and creating these heating points for the citizens. So for the neighbors, yeah. So people living in the residential building can come to a certain place to heat water, for example, to heat themselves, so to have certain warm spot and spend time there. And this is very, very popular now within the country. If we talk about countryside and people living in the private sectors, they also are getting ready for, to heat themselves with wood, to have, again, generators and additional sources of energy to be able to, survive this winter. I cannot say that it is panic, not at all. I think that even it was not any reports about, the sector of generators or warming equipment deficit. So for the moment, it is still possible to buy all this equipment if someone still don't have one. So I guess, and also additionally, if like the worst case scenario happens, government is preparing this heating points across the country and around cities and settlements. So of course, we don't know how exactly, if they're going to be enough and how exactly they will work. But for the moment, what we see from reports on the ground and from President Zelensky or local authorities visiting these heating points, they are ready to meet people. And at least people will have a place to go, a place to charge, place to, warm up, and so on and so forth in the city they live in, or in the settlement they live in the village they live in.
Well, Anna, thanks for bringing us the reports, and stay warm. You are eyes and ears on the ground. I will speak to you again.
Thank you.
Anna Chernikova in Kyiv. And the Kremlin says it is agreeing with the United States about the need for lasting peace in Ukraine, but does not see the prospect of negotiations at the moment. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Monday said the conflict in Ukraine would end almost certainly with diplomacy and negotiations, and that just an enduring peace was needed. However, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov says the outcome should be a just and durable peace, and as for the prospect of some sort of negotiations, we do not see any at the moment, his words. He adds that in order for talks to happen with potential partners, Russia would need to fulfill the goals of its special military operation. And the White House says it's not surprised by Russia's action or reaction to the West's price cap on oil from the country. Spokesperson for the White House, Karine Jean-Pierre, said the cap can be adjusted over time to prevent Russia from profiting from the war in Ukraine while keeping Russia crude in the market.
Their reaction has been and what they're saying. Look, when it comes to Russia's response, look, we're not surprised by that. We're not surprised by what their reaction has been and what they're saying. Look, the goal of the price cap has always been to ensure that discounted Russian oil continues to flow onto global markets. And even as we limit the energy revenue that Russia is using to fund its illegal war in Ukraine, and so we believe that the cap at this level maintains clear incentives for Russia to continue exporting. And so, look, the price will lock in a discount on Russian oil, especially in light of the $100 per barrel they earned just a few months ago, and it can be adjusted over time to prevent Russia from further profiting from its war. And so, we believe this is an unprecedented action that we're seeing right now, and it demonstrates the unity that United States and our allies and partners have. And we think this is an important step forward.
President Vladimir Putin has visited the Crimean Bridge linking southern Russia to the annexed Crimean Peninsula. That's the 2 months since an explosion tore through the infrastructure. President Putin, accompanied by Deputy Prime Minister Marat Pushunilin, was shown on state television behind the wheel of a car asking questions about where the attack took place. He also walked along parts of the bridge to inspect sections still visibly scorched. He spoke to the construction workers who were conducting the repairs. The 12-mile road and rail bridge, which was personally opened by Putin in 2018, was bombed on October 8th in an attack Russia said was carried out by Ukraine, but Ukraine never claimed responsibility. Turkey is still expecting Finland to lift its arms embargo as part of steps expected before approving Helsinki and Stockholm's NATO membership bids. Speaking at a news conference, Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu said a Kurdish man who was extradited from Sweden to Turkey at the end of the weekend is not on the list of people an Ankara wants from Stockholm. Sweden on Friday reported Turkish citizen Mahmut Tat, who had sought asylum in Sweden in 2015 after being sentenced in Turkey to 6 years and 10 months in jail for alleged links to the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party. Both countries, Sweden and Finland, applied in May to join NATO in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but ran into objections from Turkey, which accused the two of harboring militants from the PKK and other groups.